When one of the most famous men on the planet walked into a small diner at 11 o'clock at night and found the owner asleep at a corner table, nobody in that kitchen could believe what they were seeing. It was Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, Orlando, Florida, the intersection of South Orange Avenue and Michigan Street, a place where the streetlights have been flickering since January and the city still hasn't fixed them. The diner is called Lucinda's. It has 9 tables, a counter with 7 stools, a handwritten sign on the door that says open 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The sign was wrong that night. The door was still unlocked at 10:52 p.m. He was 7 feet and 1 inch tall, 325 pounds. He had to turn sideways to get through the door without hitting the bell above it. He wore a dark green hoodie and gray sweatpants and sneakers the size of small boats. He was not supposed to be here. He was supposed to be on a conference call at 11. He had stopped because he was hungry and the lights were still on. The diner smelled like fried chicken and old coffee and something sweet underneath. Pie, maybe. The fluorescent light above the counter buzzed like a trapped insect. The kitchen in the back was dark. Every chair in the place was pushed in and wiped down. Every table clean. Every salt shaker full. Except one. At the corner table nearest the window, a woman sat with her head down on her folded arms. Gray hair, blue cotton dress, a pair of reading glasses on the table beside her. A pen in her right hand, still held loosely, still touching a piece of paper. She was asleep. He stood in the doorway for 4 full seconds. He looked at the woman. He looked at the piece of paper under her hand. He looked at the register at the end of the counter. The register was open. Inside it, he could count the bills without moving. He counted $11. He did not leave. He stepped inside and let the door close quietly behind him and sat down at the counter nearest the door. He folded his enormous hands on the counter and waited. Here is what nobody knew that night. Not the woman asleep at the corner table. Not the cook who had gone home at 9:15 and locked the kitchen door behind him. Not the landlord who had already filed the paperwork. Not anyone. There was a letter. Not on that table. In the woman's apron pocket. She had written it 3 days earlier, on Saturday morning, sitting in that same corner before the breakfast rush that never came. A letter to her husband. Her husband had been dead for 4 months. Stay with us through this entire video. Because what is in that letter, what Shaq reads when she finally shows it to him, is the reason this story traveled to 47 countries and made people stop what they were doing and sit down. And by the time it's over, you will think about the lights in every diner window you have ever driven past at night in a completely different way. But to understand what happened in that corner booth, you have to go back. You have to go back past 4 championships, past the rings and the contracts and the business empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars, past the doctorate and the television deals and the arenas that shook when he walked in. You have to go back past all of it. You have to go back to Newark, New Jersey in the late 1970s, to a kitchen smaller than this diner's storage room, to a woman named Lucille who was stretching a pot of rice to feed 5 people and doing it without complaint. Shaquille O'Neal was born on March 6, 1972, in Newark, New Jersey. His mother, Lucille O'Neal, raised him with a love so specific and so fierce it left marks. Not the painful kind, the permanent kind. She worked nights. She worked doubles. She made something out of nothing so many times that nothing began to look like a starting point instead of an ending. His stepfather, Philip Harrison, was a sergeant in the United States Army. Philip had a voice that did not raise itself when things went wrong. He got quieter when things got hard. He told Shaquille something once on a military base in San Antonio, Texas, on a Wednesday afternoon in October of 1985. Shaq still says it in interviews. Philip said, "A woman who feeds people is doing God's work. You treat her the same whether she is feeding 1 person or 1,000. That is the whole lesson." Shaq was 13 years old. He was already 6 feet tall. He looked at his stepfather and nodded. He did not know yet that he would spend the rest of his life trying to live up to that sentence. Now, Lucinda Ferris, 67 years old, owned Lucinda's Diner at 1847 South Orange Avenue in Orlando, Florida. She had owned it for 19 years. She bought it in 2006 with her husband, Earl Ferris, 71 years old at the time, retired electrician, a man who fixed things. The kind of man who showed up before anyone asked and left before anyone could thank him. Lucinda wore her blue cotton dress 5 days a week. She had 3 of them, all the same. She said the same dress meant one less decision before 5 a.m. She was at the diner by 5:15 every morning. She unlocked the door at 5:59, not 6 o'clock. She believed being early was its own kind of prayer. The diner seated 43 people when full. On the best days, it seated 43 people. On most days, it seated 20. On the days that mattered, it seated the people who needed it most. Lucinda had a policy nobody knew about. If someone came in and sat down and could not pay, she fed them anyway. She put it in a column in a notebook she kept under the counter. She called the column the other ledger. In 19 years, the amount in that column was $14,200. She never tried to collect it. Earl handled the books. Earl handled the landlord. Earl handled the things Lucinda did not want to think about. He was good at it. He made it look simple. Earl Ferris died on November 4th, 2024, a Monday. He went to the grocery store to get milk and a newspaper. He was gone for 45 minutes. Then his phone rang from the parking lot of a Publix on Colonial Drive, and a stranger's voice told her what had happened. Heart attack. Fast. In the parking lot. The milk was still in the cart. Lucinda closed the diner for 3 days. She came back on a Thursday. She put on her blue dress and unlocked the door at 5:59 and made biscuits and opened the coffee urn and waited. She did not touch the books for 6 weeks. When she finally opened them, in December, sitting at the corner table with Earl's reading glasses because hers were upstairs, she saw what Earl had been protecting her from. The diner owed $6,400 in back rent to a property management company called Hargrove Properties. Earl had been making partial payments, keeping the gap small enough to carry. There was $880 in the business account. The lease renewal was due February 28th. Hargrove Properties had sent a letter. The letter said the rent was increasing from $2,800 a month to $4,100. It said if she could not meet the new rate, they would need the space by March 31st. March 31st was 20 days away. Lucinda had $1,240 in the business account. She had applied for a small business loan in January. The bank called on a Friday in February. The loan was denied. Insufficient collateral. She told no one. Not her daughter, Renee, in Atlanta. Not her son, Marcus, in Jacksonville. Not the cook, Devin, 28 years old, who had worked for her for 6 years and came in at 6:30 every morning with a travel mug and a playlist and a way of moving through the kitchen that made everything look easy. She told Devin business was fine. Every day she opened. Every day she made the food. Every day she smiled at the regulars. Dorothy Sims, 74 years old, who sat at stool number 3 every morning and ordered the same thing for 11 years. Gerald Park, 58 years old, a night security guard who came in at 7 a.m. after his shift and ate scrambled eggs with hot sauce and read the paper without turning his phone on. They did not know. She did not tell them. On Saturday, March 8th, 2025, Lucinda sat at the corner table before the morning rush and took a piece of paper from her apron and wrote a letter to Earl. She did not plan to. She sat down with a cup of coffee and a pen, and the paper was just there, and her hand started moving. She wrote, "Earl, I don't know how you made it look so easy. I have been trying for 4 months to figure out what you were doing, and I still cannot find where you kept the rest of the numbers. The coffee urn is making that sound again, the high one, I know you know which one. Devin thinks it is fine. I think Devin says things are fine the same way I do." She wrote, "I think I am going to lose it." The diner? "I think March is the last one. I have not told the children yet. I keep thinking something will change. You used to say that. You used to say, 'Lucinda, something always changes.' But you were the thing that always changed it, and you are not here." She wrote, "I fed 43 people last Tuesday. Full house. First one since October. I made the bread pudding with the whiskey sauce the way you like it, and I had to go in the back after because I could not do it at the counter. I hope you know that I am still making it the right way. I hope you know I am trying." She put the letter in her apron pocket. She has not taken it out since. On Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, At 10:52 p.m., Shaquille O'Neal sat down at the counter of Lucinda's Diner on South Orange Avenue and waited for the woman asleep at the corner table to wake up. He waited for 11 minutes. She woke slowly. The way people wake when they are embarrassed and trying not to show it. She lifted her head. She saw the reading glasses on the table. She saw the pen in her hand. She looked at the counter. She saw the back of a man large enough to block the light from the street window. She stood up fast. "I'm so sorry, we are closed. I'm sorry, I don't know how you got in, but—" "Door was open," he said. His voice was low, easy. "I rang the bell." "You didn't hear it." She was already moving toward the counter. "I can make you something. It's late, I know, but I can—" "Ma'am." He turned around. She stopped. It was the face from television, from every commercial she had ever seen, from the game her husband used to watch on Sunday afternoons with the volume too loud. She had told Earl to turn it down 100 times, and she would give everything she had left to hear it one more time. "You're—" she said. "I'm just a man who's hungry," he said. "If that's all right." She stared at him for 2 full seconds. Then she went to the kitchen. She made him eggs. She made biscuits from scratch because she had dough left and she could not give him biscuits from a can, not in her diner, not in Earl's diner. She made coffee. She brought it all out on a tray and set it on the counter and stood across from him the way she stood across from every customer. He ate. He said the biscuits were the best he had eaten since his mother made them when he was 9 years old in Newark. She said, "Your mother made biscuits?" He said, "She made everything out of nothing. That was her gift." She was quiet for a moment. She refilled his coffee without being asked. He looked at the register. He looked at the sign behind the counter that showed the breakfast specials. He looked at the 19-year collection of small things on the walls. A photograph of Lucinda and Earl on the day they opened. A child's drawing in a plastic frame. A ribbon from a local business association dated 2014. He said, "How long have you had this place?" 19 years, she said. "Your husband in that picture?" She did not answer right away. "He was," she said. He nodded. He did not ask more. He understood the tense. They were quiet for a while. The fluorescent light above the counter kept buzzing. Somewhere outside, a car went past with its radio on, something slow and far away. Then he said, "I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't come in because I was hungry." She looked at him. "I came in because I could see through the window, and I saw you asleep at that table, and something told me not to keep driving." He paused. "What's happening here?" She was quiet for a long time. She looked at the register. She looked at the photograph of her and Earl. She reached into her apron pocket without meaning to. Her hand touched the letter. She pulled it out. She did not know why. She did not plan it. She set it on the counter between them and put her hand flat on top of it. "I've been writing to my husband," she said. "He passed in November." She pressed her lips together. "I can't stop writing to him." "I know that sounds—" "It doesn't sound like—" "Anything except right," he said. She looked up. He was looking at her. The way his mother used to look at people. Fully. Like what they said was the most important thing being said anywhere in the world at that moment. "Can I ask you something?" he said. She nodded. "What would he tell you to do?" She didn't answer for 6 full seconds. Then she said, "He'd tell me something always changes." Her voice cracked on the last word. She pressed her hand harder on the letter. That was his line. He said it every time something went wrong. Shaq looked at the letter. He looked at the register. He looked at the photograph. He said, "Tell me about the something." And she told him. She told him about the $6,400. She told him about the denied loan. She told him about March 31st. She told him about Devin, who did not know. About Dorothy Sims on stool 3. About Gerald Park, who turned his phone off for 1 hour every morning to eat scrambled eggs in peace. She told him about the other ledger, the $14,200. The column she never tried to collect. Before you go, drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with one person tonight. One open door, one stranger, one moment at a time. We will see you in the next one.